brands from ABSA, going off the beaten track to find solutions.
East London in the Eastern Cape had been starved of international and local off-road motorsport for years, but courtesy of ABSA and the African Heritage Cross Country World Cup second leg, that all changed at the end of July. Round 5 of the ABSA Off-Road Championships, run in conjunction with the international event, was held in and around the picturesque city, and round 5 of the Nationals was, as always, a squeaker. Toyota's rally expert Mark Cronje won the prologue, and Berthold and Houghton were intent on removing the Ford filling, Schroeder and Huxtable between the Castrol Toyota sandwich. Krobler and Jordan too were closing, albeit slowly trying to conserve car and getting as much as possible out of the Navara at the same time. Voss is becoming a master himself at conserving and wringing every ounce out of the car, while Visser at Badenhorst had made giant strides this season. Berthold and Minute brought the first special vehicle car into view in 7th place overall. And Ford were happy to have 2 of their chargers in the top 10, Woolridge and Scholthammer firing on all cylinders. The Micron Excel dealer team Toyota of the De Bruins raced by next, holding station in 9th, while Cox and Tersteger seemed to have sorted out their early season troubles with the new Spec 3 bat. Corbett and Balzar were cleverly trying to conserve, yet trying to stake a claim in the SP class. They were 6th, but over the rougher terrain the specials were closing them down, with Albertson, Hunter and Variawa and Rousseau chasing hard. Matthews and Smith were next, and had obviously cranked it wide open as they'd started 12 seconds behind Harkis and Moore, but had found a way past. While the Ford pair were also trying to look after the car in the fast sweeping parts of the route. Hutchison and Bergman were experiencing alternator and electrical problems and had dropped 2 places, but write the former national champ off at your own peril. Silwalt and Hellberg were smooth and quick over the first part of the route and were looking for a solid follow-up to their good Botswana showing, with the Harpers sticking to their pre-prologue word by going out very cautiously early on. They were 8th, with the second Silwalt car just a few ticks further back. And Musaji and Bodhanya forcing our cameraman to take evasive action here. Granted, they were riding in the dust. As they did in Botswana for all but the last few Ks of around 1,000 Ks, Mark Cronje and Chris Birkin were still leading, but the Castrol Toyota had lost one eye. Krobler was hoping to make it 5 consecutive wins for Nissan and 3 for him, with his stablemate Duncan Voss, also a former champ, applying his own pressure just behind the battle for the lead. Woolridge and Scholthammer had moved up 4 places and had the Ford Ranger dancing to a merry tune, while Corbett and Balzar, ever mindful of another 1,000 Ks ahead of them, kept it smooth with the next Nissan Navara. Alberts and Hunter and the Rapsa Bat were enjoying their stint up front and were finding it very much to their liking. As it was, there'd already been 4 different winners in the special category in 07, and it looked like it may have been 5. Hutchison and Bergman, after having lost teammate Cox to the same problem, were still battling their alternator in the Bat Spec 3. They've been beset with problems since unveiling the new Chariot. But the biggest movers of the day were certainly the Harpers. Their Atlas Copco Bat just kept getting better, and so did they. They were up into the top 10 and still climbing, with Variawa also moving up the batting order in a fine drive, but he had Silwalt and Muller all over his exhaust pipes. The Barkhuizens were smooth and seemed to enjoy themselves thoroughly in the mountains, but disaster awaited them as they rolled, and as a result failed to see it out to the finish. The Zermattens, conversely, were regaining their consistency in the Ryobi Nissan and were up into the top 12. Taylor and Keith were continuing their giant killing act, and the little JRE was purring along very nicely. But up front, Cronje was still dictating matters and steaming on the way home. He had a 3-minute lead, as Robert crashed out with just 45 Ks left to go. And that left Voss and Pitchford in the Hunter's seat, having to chase for all they were worth, and they did one heck of a job of it. That also elevated the Ford duo Woolridge and Scholthammer to 3rd, and with the locals hollering encouragement, the pair set about trying to close the gap to Voss. The Zermattens, Henry and Maurice, were consolidating their fine return to form with a place in the top 10 in the Ryobi Nissan. While Variawa and Rousseau had got stuck in a ditch and then suffered a flat to drop them back. With their teammate Schroeder having to call it a day after losing 4-wheel drive, Peckham and Santoro and the diesel Ford Ranger 4-litre had made a big surge and were up into the top 15. while the brothers White, David and Gary also entered for the long haul in the heritage race with Smooth and nursing the Rurikon bat. And Taylor and Keith were still steaming along, up from 18th in the specials to 11th. In Class D, the Weichholtz, Cliff and Louis were second, chasing after the Zermattens and just 4 minutes in arrears. And in Class B, the Besaidnoids were 8 minutes behind in the second Adenko bat. While Rundle and Robert, second in Class E, had their fair share of electrical troubles and were nursing at home, although it didn't look like it. But the Nissan pairing charged past a stricken Cronje and his Toyota. Foss and a beaming Pitchford made it 5 for 5 and a second consecutive win for Foss as he widened the championship points gap at the top of the log. A fine second win in a row for Foss, and that left him sitting healthily atop the championship log, while the Ford Dio, Woolridge and Schulthammer rued their run of non-finishes in the early season. Still, there were 3 races left to finish of the 07 season, and a lot could still have happened. In the specials, a rock-solid victory for Alberts and Hunter, while their second place consolidates the Hoppers as the championship leaders with a very healthy margin, and it would clearly have taken a lot to knock them off their perch. Polokwane in the Limpopo province was the place for the Ford Motor